Welcome to High Road to You. This is Mark Stofer, and I just heard something that Elon Musk was talking about in regards to having robots. He goes, doesn't everybody want a robot, and maybe even two? And he's talking about, it can mow your lawn, it can watch your kids. And when he said watch your kids, I had to shake my head, honestly, and say, it's one thing to have robotics take over industry, right? I was recently at a coffee shop in town and talking to somebody from out of town, and they were here on a convention, and they were talking about the automation in the agricultural industry, right? And I was in the Monterey airport looking at this display of drones and all these robotics and stuff, and basically, if you can imagine, the robotics would prepare the field, seed the field, maintain the field, harvest the field, package the harvest in a truck that's autonomous truck delivers it to a cold storage plant, and then there's all this automation and getting it to eventually the store, right? And you think about the massive industry that would be disrupted. What do I live in the salad bowl capital of the world, right? And I'm looking at thousands and thousands and thousands of labor force that maintains that work. And I think about Mr. Hershey. Mr. Hershey, during the Depression, somebody bragged about a tractor doing the work of 40 men. And he said, get that tractor out of here and get 40 men. I think we have to really look at that, think about that. If I owned a company and I couldn't be competitive because I didn't have automation doing the work, and my product was twice, 3 times the price of somebody else that automated their system, it's just concerning. I don't know how that works, honestly. And if you think about robotics that would be watching your kids, and then they're, when you have that kind of disruption, like a depression where people don't have work and they can't provide for themselves and their family, that's where crime, drug, use, prostitution come into play. Think about Detroit when the auto industry collapsed. Crime, drugs, and prostitution, went exponential in that region. So, that's what happens. And if I have a robot watching my kids, then you think about, okay, well then, if I have to be concerned about, the crime, then I would want to know that the robot would take the necessary actions to protect my children. You see where this is going? I mean, it's concerning. I know that there's a lot of industries that are being disrupted right now. In my small universe, people saying, I've never been laid off in my entire life, and I'm really having a hard time getting, into a company, and they've never, ever had that challenge before. And that's an indicator. That is a true indicator as to how do you navigate those waters, right? It's just something we all have to be very, very concerned about. Absolutely very, very concerned about, and how we support that. It shouldn't be from the top down. We can't rely on how people are going to be taken care of that are in these situations where their lifestyle depends on their career and their that compensation for their work. And when it gets disrupted like that, there's a lot of corruption that takes place. There's a lot of corruption that takes place, no matter what scale you're on, from general labor all the way up to high tech and engineering and whatnot. So yeah, I would say to hunker down, live within your means. Less is much, much, much more, and the quality of life is much better. I lost everything and moved into a trailer, and I regret it took me so long to realize the quality of my life improved significantly, not having this lifestyle that you're on a treadmill, and generally you're serving your stuff, it's not serving you, and whatever you build you got to maintain. Most people don't think about that at all, but the more you build, the more you maintain. And I've got a small house, and I love it because it's so easy to maintain. And I'm a minimalist on such a level that I live in such a way where it doesn't put a heavy weight on me mentally, physically, emotionally. It's just easy to kind of navigate my life. Growing up in a very toxic hoard fest kind of a situation from a single mom with, 3 kids and 2-bedroom apartment. It was a hoard fest of trinkets and things that we just would never use, but it was piled up in and around us. And then my grandparents, they were better off, but ultimately, I was like 10. How many sets of china do you need? And it was a train wreck. Her children, my mom, my aunt, and my uncle were a train wreck. And I think it was her way of just ignoring the reality of the situation. But she lived to serve her stuff, and it deteriorated. It was a mess. By the time she got older, she couldn't maintain, and she couldn't get any other, family help, and it was bad. So I think that less is much, much more. I think that, we have to really think about, disruption. You see the white caps of cloud formation in your industry, in your business, and you can't ignore it. But I think it's hunkering down, having that liquidity to find the balance, regardless of what's going to happen in the industry of living within your means is just so critically important today, more than ever before. And you do it before you go, your boat goes far out, it's too far out to sea, and then, it capsizes in the eye of the storm. Well, whose fault is it? It's yours because you knew better. You got to see the white caps and cloud formation for what they are, turn the boat around, get safe harbor, get on high ground, and assess where you're at. And that's what happened to me. I moved into a trailer with 3 kids and into a town that was affordable, and we ended up buying raw land, and I built a house, and I immersed myself in that zone to build equity and a business at the same time. And so it has sustained me and my family for over 20 years now, so over 24 years now. So the thing is that it's a calculated approach, and see it for what it is, and step back and be honest with yourself. Don't ignore, don't deny, don't blame. Just be honest with yourself and realize that there's a lot of disruption on the horizon, and there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that aren't really discussed like they should be. But in my small universe, I can see it, and it's concerning. And the things that are happening right now, if it's going to disrupt industries the way I see it to be, we have to be more involved in how we navigate our life. So with that, I hope this message reaches your heart and your mind and encourages you, inspires you in some way to take the actions that you need to take. And with that, I hope this message finds you well.